The Disney Channel's Descendants movies are on the verge of something huge. The end of the Descendants movies. Well, not really the end. Disney is always full of surprises for movie channel fans. One thing we know the fans love is dishing about the details of the Descendants characters. Fans are so excited about Descendants 3. That's why we're going way back to move these great characters forward. In this video, the spotlight is on Evie. This is Villy, your villain princess, and I'm back to tell you everything about Evie's past. When it comes to loving Disney Channel characters, we listen to what you want. And that's why it's so important to tell you everything about Evie and her life, past, present, and maybe future. We always want to know what you think, Descendants fans. Villy's videos are the baddest bad kids of the Descendants movies, best of the best, or worst of the worst, if you will. Just make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you can be the first to know whenever we have new Descendants film details. So here it is. Here are the top 6 facts about Evie and her backstory that Descendants fans have to know. Number 6. It's all about her. Let's talk about looks. The first thing you need to know about Evie is that she is very obsessed with herself. When it comes to villainous attractiveness, we adore her look. Evie is a very pretty girl, and she knows it. We love the beautiful cobalt blue that is her signature look, from her long blue hair to her awesome blue leather costuming. Evie can't seem to get her mind off the mirror, but we've got a good idea of where that personality trait came from. Her mother is none other than the evil queen from the Disney classic Snow White. No wonder, but who knows? Sometimes even villain kids grow up and mature. Which brings us to number 5, Evie's evolution. Evie begins her time at Auradon Prep with an eye on a specific goal. More about that later in this video. But for now, let's just say that she was plotting and scheming for a very comfortable future. She starts out playing dumb to get her dream guy, but good friend Doug convinces her that castle ownership doesn't have to be only through a guy. If she works hard and concentrates on learning, she can buy that castle herself. She continues to discover her ability as we see her getting better grades and realizing she's smarter than she thought. Good for you, Evie! Your villain princess wants you to know, being smart and getting good grades is nothing to be self-conscious about. Number 4. The Chad Charming Incident. Speaking of Evie learning her lessons, Evie's grand plan was to have Chad Charming as her boyfriend. You know the idea. He gets crowned, she's the queen along with him, and she gets to live in a castle that she didn't have to pay for. This scheme turned out to be an epic fail when Chad puts her to work on his homework and followed that up by trying to get her kicked out of school. It does appear that she's matured during the course of Descendants 1 and 2. The moral of this plotline with Chad not so charming at the moment is that manipulation is not exactly the best way to get what you want. Want to tell us what you think about who is going to be the real boyfriend on Evie's arm in Descendants 3? Evie's been crushing on a few of the young men of Auradon, and your villain princess thinks there may be a surprise in store for us as to who will win Evie's heart. Tell us in the comments who you think would make the best personality match for Evie. Now let's get back to Evie's backstory. Number 3. Evie's mom. Evie's mother is none other than the evil queen of Disney's classic animated film, Snow White. In that movie, she's a scary lady in the mirror, and in the Descendants movies, we see her making her presence felt in a big way. Evie is always uneasy when the evil queen is around. Wow, she sure knows how to make Evie and everyone else anxious. The evil queen divides her time between fixating on her own image in the mirror and going out of her way to make Evie feel insecure. And that brings us to number 2, Evie's childhood. The Descendants characters have all had to live with the fact that they have evil, villainous parents, and that reality is what Evie and all the Descendants characters seem to struggle with the most. Evie's backstory is unusually full of criticism, as everyone can see when she interacts with her mother. You probably picked up on the sad fact that her father is not around, and his villain identity has not been revealed, which is one backstory trait that Evie seems to share with many of her fellow characters. characters, and Evie's mom is full of not-so-friendly or motherly advice, which are her evil mother's obsessions and don't make for very good life decisions. Instead of throwing some kind of motivation her way, Evie's mom is certain that the secret to happiness is locking down a prince and making yourself comfortable in a castle. The evil queen even seems to be jealous of her daughter Evie, which may be the main reason why the Snow White villain queen is constantly tearing her daughter down. But it looks like you can't keep a villain kid down. Number 1. Evie's ultimate success. Despite her evil queen mom's insistence that it's all about her, the mirror, and the next available prince, Evie seems to have picked up a great work ethic, which is a very positive quality if you ask your villain princess. And here's the final total for Evie, bringing the fans from her backstory up to the soon-to-be-released Descendants 3. Her evil queen mother seems to have demanded perfection as Evie grew up, which isn't all that great. However, Evie picked up on her gifts for makeup artistry, brains for business, and even has her own clothing line. And she came to the conclusion that you shouldn't pin all of your hopes on marrying a prince, and that you have to learn how to stand on your own 2 feet. Another clue to Evie's future was her discovery that she has a talent in chemistry. That's an interesting side note going forward, isn't it? She might even be an inspiration to her fellow Descendants characters. After all, she and all of her castmates are, well, grown up now, as most fans know from following the Descendants bunch from the beginning. Even though they have had to accept their villain parents, romantic issues, and drama within her circle of friends, Evie and her backstory are proof that even a villain kid can choose to focus on the positive. Creative dreams can come true. We're sure that Descendants fans are more than ready to watch Evie and her Descendants 3 cast members just as soon as this summer film debuts. That's all the Disney Descendants fandom for today. Make sure you've subscribed and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss our next Descendants video, and join the conversation with your fellow D3 fans. I'm Billy, and I'll see you next time.